Who's the dumbest person you've ever met? Story 1. It's not uncommon as a teacher to have students who are a bit behind the curve in certain aspects. But 99.99999 of the time they're keen on something. They might not understand how to identify a noun or what theme is, but they somehow know how to make a mean plate of nachos. You learn pretty quick to not judge fish for their tree climbing ability. You know, I thought this was the rule when I was teaching until I met Kevin. Kevin isn't his real name, but it doesn't matter because he can't spell it anyway. Kevin was a student of mine during my last year of teaching. He came to my classroom with very little to show for his academic past. He had moved a few times, and thus was missing a lot of typical test scores that we use to try and ballpark their ability. Don't worry, it was a ballpark. We didn't make major decisions until we actually had a chance to talk and work with a student for a bit. I thought that's fine. He'll just do some one-on-one with Kevin and see what's up. One-on-one with Kevin was like conversing with someone who had forgotten everything in a freak, if not impossible, amnesia incident. There was no evidence that he had learned anything past the second grade. And now he was in ninth grade, flabbergasted. I figured we needed to get more serious with this. If he was going to be in my class, I needed to know why and how. I decided to meet with him, his guidance counselor, his parents, and another teacher to see what was really going on. This is where it all became clear. It was by some incredible fluke that his family hadn't been wiped off the face of the earth years ago. Odds are his entire heritage was based on blind luck and some type of sick divine intervention that saves his family every time a threat presents itself. Kevin was the genetic pinnacle of this null achievement. Even my instructional lead, a woman who could find a redeeming trait in a Balrog, failed to see any reason this kid or his family should be alive today. So he erased a list of events that made it abundantly clear that God exists, and he's laughing uncontrollably. Kevin frequently forgot when where class was. On more than one occasion, I had to retrieve him from other classrooms. Kevin ate an entire 24-pack of crayons, puked, and then did it again the next day. This is ninth grade. I have no idea where he got crayons. Kevin's dad wrote tuition checks and mailed them to me. His English teacher, this was a public school. When I gave it back to Kevin, voided, to give to his dad with a brief note explaining that this is a public school. Kevin got in trouble for trying to spend it at 711 after school. Kevin was removed from the culinary arts program after leaving a cutting board on the gas stove and starting a fire. Twice Kevin threw his lunch at the school resource officer and tried to run away. He ran into a door and insisted it wasn't him. Kevin stole my phone during class. I called it. It rang. He denied that it was ringing. Not that it wasn't his. Not that he did it. No, he denied that the phone was actually ringing. He tried it 3 times before the end of the year. Kevin called the basketball coach a motherfucking bitch during gym. Basketball tryouts were that afternoon. Kevin tried out. It didn't go well. Kevin's mom could never remember which school he went to. She missed several meetings because she drove to other schools, none of which he ever went to. Kevin tassed himself in the neck. Before a football game, Kevin kept a bottle of orange Kool-Aid in his backpack for about 4 months. He thought it would turn into alcohol. He drank it during homeroom and threw up. Kevin said the N-word a lot. Kevin was white. The high school was 84 black. Kevin got beat up a lot. Kevin stole another student's iPhone and tried to sell it back to them. Kevin didn't understand that his grade was dependent on tests, quizzes, homework, classwork, and participation. Kevin finished his first semester with a 3 average. He tried to bribe me with 11. Kevin spit on a girl and said, "You should get out of those wet clothes." The girl was the Spanish student teacher. Kevin didn't know dogs and cats were different animals. Kevin tried to download onto a computer in the library at the circulation desk while he was logged on. Kevin asked the girl to prom. He was in 9th grade, and freshmen don't go to prom by asking for her phone number and then texting her his address. Kevin got gum his hair constantly. Kevin regularly tried to cheat on assignments by knocking the pile over, grabbing one before I'd pick them all up, and then writing a name on it wherever there was room. Kevin had several allergies, but neither his parents nor he could remember what they were. They were very concerned that the holiday party, it's high school, we don't have those, would have peanuts. When they finally got a doctor's note, he was allergic to amoxicillin. Kevin and his parents took a trip to Nassau. How they even get airline tickets and forgot all their luggage at home. I didn't believe him when he told me until I talked to his mom, who told me first thing when I saw her at the bi-weekly meeting. Kevin's grandfather apparently died in a chainsaw accident. I can only assume God was looking the other way that day. Story 2. A girl from high school physics. If the speed of light is 3,108 milliseconds, what is the speed of dark? And later that year, if China is 12 hours ahead of us, why didn't they warn us about 911? I can't make this stuff up. Story 3. Brother's girlfriend. Did you know Poland was the only country not affected by World War II? Hitler wasn't a bad guy. They just gave him the wrong job. I like cows. They're cute and they have big eyes, but I don't like horses. They're big and they look like cows. Wine that comes in plastic is fancier than wine that comes in glass bottles because plastic has more technology. As my brother is cooking her filet mignon, she looks at the steak in the pan for a minute before asking, "Is that the whole fish?" Story 4. This girl I had a one-night stand with and eventually became friends with until I couldn't stand her anymore when I was an undergrad. Sounds terrible, but it's true. Now, let me just say I'm no Mensa member by any means, but am reasonably smart, was in a good STEM program in a good uni, high GPA, well-rounded education outside interest in multiple subjects. However, when I drink, you can imagine where this is going. Anyway, got drunk and had with this woman who was honest to God, really nice, but man, was she stupid. She wanted to be an elementary school teacher, and thank Christ for that, because I don't think she would have had the mental capacity for anything above a 6th grade education. And even then, here are a few gems I swear. Cannot make this up. Filling out medical information for her teach for American application. Her, it says to check any illnesses that I have. I have hepatitis C. Don't I? Me, you don't have hepatitis C. Her, I feel like I caught it one time. Me. Her, oh, you know what? I think it's herpes that I caught one time. Me, that was a canker sore. Interjected during a convo about European political affairs. Her, I thought Georgia was a state in the U.S. Everyone, her, what's all this Russia bullshit? After a reproductive biology lecture. Her, well, like he came inside me, but I washed down there afterwards. So there's like no way that I would be pregnant. Me, are you on birth control? Her, I just got off like 3 months ago, but like I just got off, so there's no way. Me, did you use a condom? Her, no. Me, you should take a pregnancy test. Her, nah. I think I'll be fine. Talking about study abroad. Me, you could always go to South Africa. I've been. Her, yeah. But where? Me, South Africa, like the country. Her, yeah. But which one? Me, the country, South Africa. Her, I thought you told me Africa was a continent. Me, are you being serious right now? Her, getting frustrated. Yes. Where do I go? Overheard at the International Student House or so. Is Germany a part of Europe or England? And on a separate occasion. Her, do they have color televisions in Spain? And another occasion. Her, well, I mean, Japanese and Chinese are practically the same language, right? And yet again. Her, why is there the essay at the end of Asian races like Vietnamese and Japanese and Chinese? Me, jokingly, good-naturedly like Portuguese. Her, yeah. When I told her I am Brazilian. Her, oh, do you speak Mexican then? Asked after receiving their grade on an exam out of a possible 100 points. Or how do you figure out the percentage for 61100? Helping with history homework. Me, so. Cote d'Ivoire recently had a coup. Her, what? Me, a coup, like overthrowing a government. Her, me, you might have heard it pronounced coup. Ishira, do you know? Her, no. What is that? On why she was so adamant about voting for a certain candidate during the last election. Me, so why do you want to vote for this candidate? Her, because he's doing a lot for education. Me, like what? Her, a lot. I could go on, but now I feel like I downvote the guilt out of me. Story 5. This girl saw a double cheeseburger on a restaurant menu, and she got all excited, thinking it meant double cheeseburger extra cheese. She was confused when there was 2 patties in the burger. That girl was me. My boyfriend still laughs at me. TLDR, I like cheese. Edit, apparently a lot of you are on my side. Thanks, friends. Edit 2. My highest rated comment is about cheese. Story 6. I worked with this girl last summer who was beyond dumb. At first it was amusing, but then it just got really sad. We were talking about Nelson Mandela being really sick. This was in June. And she said, well, I sure hope she'll be okay. Her music is so good she thought World War II was between America and Africa. She thought potatoes could only grow in America. And when asked what her boyfriend's name was, she said, I can't really pronounce it. So I just call him Mike. He spells it like M-I-C-H-A-E-L. Story 7. Katy Perry once shopped the Whole Foods market I manage. She wouldn't let my cashier's hand touch her food. The personal assistant proceeded to take my cashier's spot, insisting Katy may get sick from worker contact. That's pretty dumb. Edit, for the record, this sort of thing is pretty common. Katy may have been weirder than most, but famous people get strange about plebeian contact. Edit 2. I want to be very clear about something. She wasn't being about the checkout situation, just making a celeb request. Like I said, this happens all the time, and not posting this to paint her as a monster. Just a bit dense. Story 8. This isn't close to the stupidest thing she said, but it's the only thing I can remember. Girl in my high school admitted in class to pouring an entire jug of antifreeze on her windshield to melt the ice. That though. Story 9. I have posted this before, but in freshman biology class, we were reviewing the subatomic particles, and the teacher asked the girl to list them. She responds with protons, electrons, and Decepticons, and could not figure out why the class was laughing at her. Story 10. My psych class. One girl asked, is I color behavior? Not really stupid, more WTF, but she also said she wanted to have a pet baby, not wanting a pet, or a pet baby human. Story 11. I knew a guy who shot up peanut oil to slow the flow of blood to his brain to keep him in a constant state of being high. He's dead now, not from the peanut oil. Drug overdose a few years later. Story 12. My ex-roommate's boyfriend. He was 22. He actually idolized Bieber, One Direction, etc., and did everything he could to be like them. He was also homophobic, Probably gay because he often wore his girlfriend's clothes from Forever 21 and refused to get a job because the band is totally going to make it. He also pushed his girlfriend down a set of stairs and was so in love with himself that he took mirror selfies, posted them on his Facebook, then sent them to his Facebook page that he made for himself. Absolutely the worst person I've ever met. To make sure he didn't come to the house, I actually convinced him that our building was built on an ancient Indian burial ground and that strange things did happen from time to time. He never came back. Story 13. Back in high school, a guy named Kevin was arguing with me, and anyone who would listen, saying that STDs are prevented by having. After about a minute of explaining to him what STD meant, I decided to just say, let's agree to disagree. But he didn't let it go. He pulled out a 50 bill from his wallet and bet me that he was right. After he looked it up, the crowd mentality forced him to pay up. TLDR, dumb high school student bet me 50 that STDs are prevented by having. Story 14. A girl in my class believed that Neanderthals ate ice and cheese. Bonus, she didn't know eggs came from chickens. She thought they were manufactured in a factory. Story 15. I had to explain to a girl that penguins were not fish. I had to explain to another girl who I told this story to why the first girl was not correct. Story 16. We had to watch the movie Defiance in my English class, and afterwards this girl put her hand up and asked, is Jewish a country? Later on, after watching Defiance, which is about 3 Jewish brothers in Nazi-occupied Europe, for the second time she asked, wait, were they brothers? I wanted to throw a stapler at her. Story 17. I was around 8 to 10, or whatever the normal age is when you know your own address, and I just made a new friend, and she invited me over to her house to hang out. I plan on dropping by after taking my things home, so naturally I asked for her address. She grabbed a paper and pencil and started drawing 3 houses. She pointed to the middle house and said, I live here. TLDR, never talked to her again. Story 18. Almost forgot about my college roommate. She once missed the first 3 exits to a city because she forgot where she was going. She once told me she would never breastfeed her children because it would hurt too much to poke the holes. When asked how she thought animals nurse their young, she said, well, don't they just gnaw the ends off? Edit to add, she also got into a drunken knockdown fight in the street with another girl over a gay guy. Story 19. A friend of my ex, who is notorious for making poor choices, was dating a soldier from Texas. I don't like to assume, but this idiot fit the bill for dumb hick mostly because their response to anything even remotely off the beaten path or above a 5th grade level was, well, shucks. I'm just a hick from Texas. I don't know much. Just a country kid at heart. There is nothing dumber than being dumb because you think dumb is the only thing you can be. Story 20. This Jamaican guy started making fun of me because I was from Africa, a bit stunned. I'm like, where do you think your ancestors came from? Jamaica, and before that. Jamaica, no. Africa, no. Jamaica, no, he was not all Native American descent or white or whatever. He was as black as the night. Edit, he failed a grade at some point and ended up a crack addict allegedly. Edit 2. Arawaks, the indigenous population that Columbus encountered, were not all wiped out. Puerto Ricans, Surinamese, Venezuela, Guyana, and Colombians can claim Arawak ancestry. Story 21. Probably a girl from my high school history class. 2 classic quotes of hers are, where was the Berlin Wall, sir, and did Hitler not like Jews? Story 22. Had a roommate who was about 6 months late on rent. It's a 10-month lease, and we're in month 8. They're threatening to sue us. He got a tuition refund, $700, 2 months rent. He goes to play poker with it. Despite our constant please not to, doubles up. He shows us the $1,400 because he's dumb like that. This is Saturday night. Office is closed Sunday. I go work Saturday night and then work a long shift Sunday. Feeling good. Monday after classes, he comes in. First question, did you pay the rent? Bumbling, stumbling excuses. I paid off some credit card balances and some other money I owed my parents. So how much did you give the complex? None. Blew my lid. Almost punched him right then and there. I will bet every penny to my name that he went back to the table Sunday night and lost it all. Somehow, he came up with the money, though. Story 23. The guy who wound up wanted to fight me because I was explaining to him that calamari was Italian for squid. He insisted people do not ever eat squid. The delightful conversation with a man who insisted all zebras in Africa are extinct, although I had just returned from there with photographic evidence from just 2 weeks before. Story 24. Had a classmate in 8th grade who legitimately thought that the ocean had no bottom. Our teacher showed a diagram of the deepness of the ocean, and she just couldn't grasp it. I don't know how you get all the way to 8th grade without learning that the ocean doesn't just drop off into nothing. Story 25. A kid I knew in 5th grade, Stevie. One day the teacher is walking throughout the classroom, and his shoe gets stuck on some red sticky stuff. He looks at it, sees a short trail, and follows it back to Stevie's desk. He looks inside Stevie's desk and finds sticky red goo covering a piece of sticky red paper with good humor written on it. Yeah, Stevie brought a popsicle back from lunch and put it in his desk so that he could eat it later. Story 26, this chick I used to work with. Hey Ray's a prime example. I told her I was in Ethiopia, and she replied, "Oh my God, Europe is supposed to be beautiful this time of year." I also told her I was from Philly. I now live in California, and she asked what state is that in. Boston. Story 27, some girl I randomly met in public who was fighting with her boyfriend and tried to drag me into it to back her up. She kept insisting that there were 52 states because Hawaii and Alaska were the last two. Dummy. Story 28, girl in my astronomy class. So if I went out into space, could I like push the stars around and knock them into each other and stuff? Teacher, no. They are incredible, massive objects, girl, but they look so little. Story 29, when I was 19, I waited tables with a girl who didn't know how to tell time. She was 18, fresh out of high school. Now, she wasn't like mentally retarded or anything. She was just really, really dumb. She also went into the kitchen and asked the cooks how to roll a joint. She explained that she had weed and paper but couldn't roll it. Our boss was right behind. And had to have heard her, the cooks told her to shut the up. She did stuff like that all the time, and she sat people at the wrong tables, messed up orders, and forgot her schedule, and would be late miss shift a lot. Anyway, she had a scholarship to play volleyball at the university, but dropped out of college after she failed the athlete's drug test about 2 months in her first semester. I think she's in beauty school now. Story 30, a coworker of my dad's, whom I've met a few times. She was a middle-aged woman, and she believed that there were huge black lines on the ground separating each of the states in the U.S. You know how they show the state borders on political maps? Yes, she thought those were really there. Story 31, okay, let's see here. Had lice visibly crawling through her hair, but refused to believe me, because it's that same rumor from 2 years ago starting up again. How did you hear it? How she couldn't feel them, and how I didn't catch them, I'll never know. Had breath like a rotten corpse. When I confronted her hygiene issues, she yelled at me for being Miss Perfect at 16 when she was already dating someone, asked the teacher what contraception was. When I asked her why she wouldn't do work in class, she said, "It'll just fail." I told her I don't want to see her fail, and she said it's my choice, couldn't say hospital. Still said hospital at 17. Deliberately ran into a wall to get the group's attention. Couldn't do a basic forward roll without falling sideways. I knew a guy very similar to her. He asked me if America was in Australia. He couldn't spell Harry Potter in 6th grade. He spelled it Habby Pobder. Same lack of hygiene as the girl. My step-siblings are 10 and 11 and can't read or tell the time, nor do they understand any of the films they watch. I showed Milan to one, and she was utterly clueless as to what she was watching. I don't think she even grasped what Asian was. I saw her watching Big Brother and asked her to explain it to me. They're all actors. She started boasting about learning at school that nothing could be a liquid and a solid. I said, "What about water?" She shoots me the greasiest look thinking I've just proved how dumb I am. And I say it can be frozen in ice, followed by her face immediately changing to utter shock and embarrassment. The thing they all had in common is they all thought they were hot and smarter than everyone else. When I tried to teach my stepsister to read, she'd sit there laughing about how easy it was, despite not being able to pronounce anything. Story 32, a customer trying to order food her, "I want that dinner special. Alleviate this item for that. Alleviate that item for this. Let her complete her order, my hum. Pardon me, but did you say alleviate? If I'm thinking correctly, it means to dash, her to substitute. Trust me, I'm a head cook at my job, and I use this type of terminology all the time. Me, but I believe it means to make less severe. This is something medical professionals use, for example, her to replace something on your dish for something you desire. You have it wrong, see? We learn something new every day. Put that in your dictionary and show how informed and learned you are. Story 33, my sister's baby daddy. Holy, he is dumb. After watching Avatar, he asked if it was based on a true story. He thought artichoke was a type of fish. I told him once, don't play dumb with me. You'll win every time. He said, oh, what? Story 34, I might as well post here too. In freshman year, about 2 whole months into our new classes, I came into class one day to meet a girl I'd never seen before. She looked familiar, though. I sat down, and not so long after, she took her seat next to me. A few minutes later, I overhear her talking with some friends saying, they told me if I skipped one more class, they're kicking me out of school. Bullshit. What kind of place is this? That's right, she skipped 2 whole months of first period and had the audacity to complain about almost being kicked out of school. Story 35, I know a guy who got a composite score of 4 on his ACT. I know it sounded impossible, I thought it was too, but I was at his house when his mom got the mail with his score on there, and I saw the piece of paper myself. Story 36, Chris Grayling, Minister for Justice here in the UK, and also my local elected representative. He just banned prisoners from being able to receive books. Really going to improve their rehabilitation and reintegration with society. I simply can't believe the abject stupidity of this. Story 37, a friend of mine back in 6th grade. Learned only natural-born citizens can become president of the United States. Says she can't become president as she was a C-section baby. Story 38, you guys remember that one scene in Zoolander where Owen Wilson goes, it's in the computer. Okay, well, that happened in 2012 to a MacBook Air. I remember walking away like a complete. Story 39, I met this girl in college. When I first met her, she had a big dumb smile on her face. I kind of thought she was being friendly, but I had the feeling of stupidity on her. I didn't hang out with her. She just happened to be in the circle of people I ate with. Anyway, one day at lunch, she comes with yogurt, and she's like, I got blueberries and craisins in it. Nope. She put in black olives and kidney beans. Yet she thought black olives were blueberries, and she thought kidney beans were craisins. I laughed so hard at the person watching her put that in her yogurt. Their face must have been hilarious. She didn't like the yogurt that much. Edit for clarification, craisins are a real thing. They are dried cranberries. Google it, you horse is king. I wasn't watching her gather her food. She just came back to the table with it. She wasn't colorblind. She was just extremely, extremely sheltered. For example, we were once talking about what music we all liked, and all she said was, Britney Spears, this was 2 years ago. You don't have to believe me, but I swear on my life this really happened. Story 40, a teacher I worked with as an assistant needed me to record myself reading questions aloud for a listening test. It took me almost 5 minutes of arguing to explain that screaming into the jack the mic plugs into wouldn't work. Story 41, a head developer I had to work with who preached the agile development method, but was very bureaucratic himself. I hated working with him. He had no level of self-awareness. The dumbest people are people who lack self-awareness. Story 42, a girl I once met in a gala event. Her Israel is the most important country in the world because it financially supports the whole USA. Me, that's mathematically impossible. Israel has 8 M citizens. USA has 320 M her, but we work way harder and have technology companies. I gave up trying. She started crying because she was right. Story 43, there are probably others that are dumber, but I met the world's dumbest dentist recently. I went in for major pain in my back right bottom molar, and the only guy who could see me on such short notice was this genius. I wonder why he was available. He looked at my mouth, diagnosed me with an ear infection, and sent me home with a bottle of antibiotics. I got in with another dentist a few days later who said it was an obvious gum infection, which he lanced and fixed in a few minutes. Damned red pepper flakes bury themselves in my gums. I have no idea how the first dentist even made it through dental school. Story 44, Taylor Swift. She lives 5 minutes from me, and she tried to claim a public road as her own. Cut the lady, our taxpayers were here before you were. Story 45, looking over a test I took in college. One of the girls in the class with me was amazed that I got in it. She said, that test was so hard. I failed it. I asked her if she studied at all. She said no, and she told me she was drunk when she took the test. Story 46, the cold call gent, who upon ringing my doorbell and trying to get me to switch electricity provider, would not take no for an answer. He refused to leave my property at first, then declared it was obvious my husband wasn't home to make the right decision for me. Yelling, you'll be sorry for this. They'll be back for you later. I took a little satisfaction when the cops brought him round for identification. A misogynist, one girl in high school, let's call her Lisa, honestly thought that gravity didn't exist, and the reason why we didn't just float away was because of our weight. Took about 10 minutes to explain that gravity gave us our weight. She then proceeded to ask if gravity could, in her words, break like a pencil. After explaining this impossibility, she finally stopped talking. The very next day, she confused Newton with Al Gore. No joke, she was really nice, though. Story 47, way back in high school, a girl in my class said, I know you couldn't, but if you could hold your breath long enough, could you like swim under Australia? Story 48, got 2-1 ex-girlfriend, freshman year in college. Didn't know who Moses was. Even came from a pretty Jewish area, West Bloomfield. I had no words. 2 senior year AP European history. Talking about Sigmund Freud. Rich girl next to me raises her hand and attempts to correct the teacher on DRV. Don't you mean Siegfried Roy? Story 49, a girl I used to work with was beyond stupid. Well, that's what we thought until she scored a 30 on her ACT. Didn't believe it till I saw it. I saw her again a couple years later, completely different person. I think in high school, a lot of people pretend to be stupid just for a small bit of attention. It starts to go away as they mature and learn it's probably not the beat way to get attention. Story 50, one of my exes. He bit into an onion ring at Arby's. I was surprised because he hates onions, but then he announces to the whole table, there are onions in this. I thought they were made out of potato. He said stuff like this all the time. Story 51, probably me in earlier elementary classes. When asked what swam meant, I blanked. I just couldn't put it together that it was the past the tense of swim. I kept picturing it as onomatopoeia for when someone smacked you or something like pow or biff. These kind of mistakes happen all the time. Story 52, girl in grade 9 named Jolie. am doodling Starry Night in my notebook, and she comes by to say, "Oh wow, you are so good at art." You could be Leonardo DiCaprio. Facepalm, she also was playing a game where she had to name countries. She started with Africa, then said Utah. After she said, "Oh sorry, I'm not very good at geometry," worst part is she got into the IB program and not fully sure she didn't hire someone to write her essay for her. My old roommate, we'll call her Kim, was hands down the dumbest person I'd ever met. Once we went to Little Caesars to pick up pizza for everyone back at our house. So she called her boyfriend to see what he wanted. He says to her, "I want a pizza with half cheese and half Hawaiian." She hangs up and proceeds to order him a pizza with half cheese and half Hawaiian with no cheese. I told her, "Kim, not sure that's what he had in mind," to which she replied, "I think I know my boyfriend better than you. If he wanted cheese, he would have asked for it when we got home." He opened his pizza, looked at her and said, "Are you retarded?" She ran to her room and cried. We got high and laughed at her. Good times all around. Story 53, I worked with a sweet young lady who confessed that it wasn't until after college that she realized that gasoline wasn't 87, 89, or 93 cents per gallon. And yes, it was because she was finally paying for it herself instead of using daddy's credit card. Story 54, my old roommate's boyfriend. He spent the better portion of dinner movie stating how food has too much preservatives in it anymore. And that's why there are trees that have been petrified trees, because of preservatives in food. Also, you can't eat buckyballs or any magnet in general because your body works off of electrical currents, and if you ate a magnet, it could disrupt them. She was also pretty dumb, spent an entire night sobbing about being pregnant, gets an abortion, and then makes a point to call out people on Facebook for discussing the topic, saying things like, "I could never do that to an unborn child." Every child is a gift. When that whole brainless kid fiasco was happening on Facebook a few years back, I don't miss either of them. Story 55, my roommate just said the Big Bang Theory is when all those babies were being born, he was 100 serious. Didn't have the heart to tell him that he's thinking of baby boomers after WW2. Story 56, one of my wife's girlfriends. Someone told her a riddle about a train traveling north at a certain speed, etc. To which she replied, "Oh, you can't fool me because I know that north is up points to the sky." Story 57, I work at a touristy place that's popular with celebrities, so probably a three-way tie between Selena Gomez, Zac Efron, and a particularly stupid girl from my grad class edit. We rented stuff in my workplace, and my bosses honestly suspected that Zac Efron stole a product because we had to call him to get it back after over a month. He was also pretty cocky. Selena was nice, but just came across as a bit of in taking selfies and stuff. Story 58, my college roommate was, without a doubt, the dumbest person I've ever met. She was writing a paper about segregation, could not grasp how separate, but equal was a bad thing despite two people trying their damnedest to explain it to her. After nearly half an hour, my other roommate and I just gave up and left the room. I still wonder how she passed that class. And she once asked what the difference between legal and illegal was. She wanted to know which was the bad one. This girl now teaches elementary school. Her poor students. Story 59, we were studying Romeo and Juliet in high school. The teacher was discussing the prologue and the deaths of the main characters, to which a girl shouted, "Spoilers, why would you ruin the ending?" Story 60, no one will ever see this on a thread this old, but I once worked with someone who asked me if they make air conditioners. Why don't they make air shampoo? And was dead serious. Story 61, hey story time. So one day after a game of basketball on the courts outside of my dorm, me and two of my friends decided to stop through our local Circle K. After getting our Gatorades and standing at the checkout line, my friend, we'll call him Jim, decides to look at the gum. Sarcastically, he tries to joke, "Hey guys, look at this gum. It says thirst quenching. I should totally get it, right?" He proceeds to buy the shitty gum and give all of us a piece. After about a minute of driving, my other friend and I decide to spit the gum out. Apparently, Jim did not notice this action because he continues to joke about the gum, and this is where the conversation went. "Guys, I don't know about this gum, har har. I don't think it's working, har har." I look at him, "Dude, you're not supposed to be chewing the gum. It's like water. Think about it. You don't chew water." My other friend and I show him our empty mouths to confirm we are both, one, not chewing the gum, and two, to confirm our thirst has indeed been quenched. After this confirmation, he goes ahead and swallows the gum. More seconds go by. "Dude, I don't know, maybe I didn't do it right." "Are you supposed to chew it at all?" I look at him with a blank face. "You chewed it up first. You idiot, haha, you have to just put it in your mouth and swallow it dry for it to work." He quickly takes another piece of dry gum and tries to swallow it whole. It's a miracle I'm still alive after watching him try to gulp that down. TLDR, my friend swallowed 2 pieces of gum to try and quench his thirst. Story 62, my brother, is a special case. I think he wins because he has a brain and chooses not use it. That makes him far worse than an actual idiot who had the misfortune of poor breeding. My brother, who we will call Brother Dearest, is an evil monster of lazy cruelty and sheer stupidity. He gave me his toddler a cigarette once. My brother, when he was a wee lad 7, helped my sister bring a horse into the living room of our house. An unbroken Arabian yearling. Imagine a jumpy horse on crack. That is what they brought inside. He once made his 8-year-old sister hold up sheetrock to his ceiling on a ladder while he hammered it in. He was 67 and 18. He also walked away for a while I held it up. Stuck. He once got chased by a hummingbird, terrified out of his mind. He had a habit of being a douchebag to his friends, couch surfing from place to place until they forgot what he did to them and would repeat it. He once introduced my mom to a psychotic biker. He had just gotten out of the AU version Bellevue, and my brother knew who began to stalk her when he forgot his meds, poisoned my mom, had screaming fits where he broke and slit my cat's throat. He helped that biker blow his friend's car up one night. Side note, the biker got his face burned up and is the same guy with the dog treat from above. He forgot to pay a phone bill of $8,000 and got arrested. He forgot to renew his visa and got deported from Australia and can't go back now. He managed to run not one, not two, but 3 separate cars into ditches and one into a pond. This man is a truck driver now. He's a compulsive liar and fall for his own lies often. He used to beat me up all the time and play innocent. He's 10 years my senior. He did this until I was 16. He got lost in Disneyland, also on the way home from school once. Preschool. He was chatting with a gardener on the school grounds. He used to be afraid of having his hair touched. He'd scream if anyone tried to wash his hair or cut it. He knocked up 3 women before marrying an abusive woman who closely resembles Jabba the Hutt and takes care of her 5 kids. He did hard drugs and stole constantly from my mother and sold my Game Boys to feed his addiction. Lying when he was caught. Had tried to convince you your own memory was wrong, and he was right. My brother thought he was a warlock when he was 20. He thought it was cool to paint his thumbnails black with silver flecks. My brother hated America and religion until he hit about 28 when he became a Christian. He told me originally it was just in case, as in, well, if God exists, I better be on his side when I cork it. He soon believed this lie so thoroughly he forgot it was just in case and became a Bible thumper and all-American truck driver who said last time we spoke, and I quote, "You should be hung for treason because I casually mentioned the Iraq citizens not involved in the war, all 100,000 that died due to 9/11 as compared to our 9K or so, including 9/11 itself, the first comment to me in 4 years and the last. He once kicked my cat into a window. It's not stupid necessarily, but evil. That cat effing hated him. He also let his dog get parvo, and it died. He tried to repair a vacuum cord while it was plugged and it caught fire. He called CPS and got myself and him taken away for 2 weeks in 16 because he didn't like mom calling the cops when he'd go mission for days to stay with a family of drug addicts and dealers, go around to shops and buy cigarettes and alcohol by lying about his age and generally being a... He also had this plan to get taken by CPS, get adopted by the mother of the drug addict's household, a shack with 9 people, 2 of which were 12-year-old twins that were sluts and known as the Hoover twins, as in vacuum, and make my mother pay child support to the mother. This was mostly the woman's idea, but he still did it. What pushed him over the edge and made him call CPS was mom go to all the shops to tell them he was actually 16, not 24. They were shocked. To this day, I wish so much I knew how he could convince everyone in the valley he was a 24-year-old orphan millionaire who forgot his ID at home. How it boggles my mind how this guy could be so clever and simultaneously stupid. My brother house sat for us over a weekend, and we opened the door to find him asleep in the living room while the weakest, most ex-souse cries were coming from one of the bathrooms. Our kitten had fallen in the toilet and was so exhausted and cold it could barely hold itself up any longer, but was yowling loud as anyway. I assume it had been in there for at least a day, given its condition. There are hundreds of more where he's even more stupid. I'll edit if I think of any, or when I talk to mom next. Wow. Seems like most of Reddit met that dumb girl in high school. Stacy, that dude I went to high school with, didn't know that Chicago was in Illinois. But the best part is we lived in Illinois, and our high school was 45 minutes outside of Chicago. WTF, not met him, but Joey Essex doesn't know how to blow his own nose.